Hello, welcome to Littler House. Today we are continuing our pocket series and doing a simple side seam pocket. This is one of a couple of methods of doing a side seam pocket. These are the pieces that you'll need. You need, of course, the front and back of your garment. This is a skirt, a dress, pants, it doesn't matter. You've got your front and back here, and we have two pocket pieces, the pocket and the lining. In my case, these are the same. But could be that you have a little bit different fabric, a thinner, slippy fabric or something for one, but mine here are the same. Now, I just freehand cut these out. If you choose to do that, then what you want to make sure is that you make it big enough so that, considering this is your opening, your hand will fit inside this pocket. So I literally laid my hand down and cut around. That's all I did. So if your pattern doesn't have a pocket, that's how you would add one. Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to mark our seam allowance on our pockets. Now, your pattern, if you have this in a commercial pattern, you probably will have notches or dots or something here to mark. Since I eyeballed this, then I don't have my marks, so I'm just going to add them. So I'm going to mark my seam allowance, which is 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch there, and the other end as well. I'm going to do that on both my pocket pieces. There we are. Now you would have corresponding marks on your garment as well. Okay. So now I'm going to mark my other piece. Just going to drop down a little bit from the top and mark where that's going to go. I'm going to mark these a little bit heavier than normal just so I can see it from both sides. Okay. So now I have my front and back, and I have my two pocket pieces all marked, ready to go. So set two of these aside, one of each, and we'll just work with these one at a time. This is the right side of my fabric, and I'm going to place the right side of my pocket against the right side of my fabric. So when you're cutting out your pocket pieces, if your fabric is different on the front and back, then make sure you cut out mirror images. Mine is the same, so that's fine. So I line up my marks and I line up my raw edges. And I am going to sew along with a 3/8 inch seam allowance right along here. You can use whatever seam allowance you like. 1 centimeter or 3/8 inch is what I almost always use. It is essentially the distance from my needle to the edge of my presser foot, so it makes it very easy for me just to use the edge of my presser foot as my guide. And I'm just going to stitch all the way up to the other mark. Now I'm going to do my other piece, and I will be right back. All right, here's my two pieces sewn from mark to mark, right sides together, front and back. Now mine, of course, is practice, so whichever one is front and back, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, and I'm going to press this pocket open with the seam allowance underneath going towards the pocket. Okay, here are my pocket pieces pressed nicely. Now, a lot of your pattern steps will call for this. I would generally do it as well. I'm not going to on this, but it will tell you to edge stitch or understitch this pocket right along the edge here, catching in the seam allowance underneath. That just helps to keep this pocket lining from scooching out of your pocket as you wear them. It's a good idea to do it. Like I said, I normally would, but this is just practice, so we're going to just carry on. Okay, so now what I have is my front with my pocket and my back with my pocket. I'm going to line these up now. It's important that I get these aligned very neatly and exactly with each other. I want my seam to lay right on top of the one below it. Needs to be in line. If you've cut your pockets together, then the easiest way to start is by simply lining up the pocket pieces because they'll be exactly the same. And if you sewed accurate seam allowances, then theoretically, this should now be aligned over here. And I can feel that it feels pretty good. Take a little peek underneath and make sure you can see those are aligned nicely underneath. Okay, now you'll get a feel for this, but you can feel along this seam line, and I can feel the thickness that's aligned. So that's what we want. I'm going to throw a couple of pins in here just for good measure. Okay, you would also want to pin all along your pocket. I'm not going to right now for the sake of time, but you would also do that. All right, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to sew this all in one go. This is our side seam and our pocket sewn together. Starting up here at the top, we're going to stitch down to our notch that we drew. From there, we're going to stitch the pocket together all the way around until we get up here to the other notch. And then we're going to finish our side seam down this way. We are not going to stitch any of this here because this is our pocket opening. It needs to be open, right? I actually have this pinned together on the wrong side. So we're going to start at the bottom and go up. Exactly the same theory. 3/8 inch seam allowance, or whatever one you like to use or your pattern calls for. We're coming up the side seam. Make sure our pocket is in here flat. And I'm coming all the way up. Let me get these out of the way so they're not confusing. Coming all the way up to my stitching line here. Okay, now I'm going to raise my presser foot and pivot my piece. And I'm going back now along the pocket. Once I get up here to the top, I'm going to pivot again, and I'm coming right back to this notch again. Now this is a free pocket. You could have this come all the way up and be caught in the waistband, but let's say this is a dress. This is just floating free like this. We're going to come all the way, just like before, right to this stitching line. Pivot again, and then we're just going to finish off our side seam. Okay, now we should have a functional pocket. I would recommend that you finish all of these edges inside. If it was me, I'd go through with my overlocker and overlock all of that, but however you want to finish it inside is fine. But now what you will see, of course this needs a press, but when we open our garment up now, we have a front and a back, and we have a lovely side seam pocket, all nicely finished. Our hand can go in, no problem. And once we press that, that will be lovely and neat on the inside. I think you can see. So I'll press it just to give you one last look, and I'll be back. All right, here we are all pressed. As you can see, our side seam is all nice and finished, and we have this sort of almost hidden side seam pocket on the inside. Very easy. This is by far, in my opinion, the simplest way to do these kinds of pockets. I hope that helps.